So real quick before I got an email from Ann Kirkpatrick yesterday. It says, great news. Joe Biden brings back Dr. Fauci to lead COVID-19 response. I knew you'd love this. Against all odds, Dr. Fauci outlasted Donald Trump's attacks and decided to stay on to help President Biden. He's a real, genuine expert and scientist, according to Joe. He's a rare spot in our difficult times. And then you know what it says at the end? Can you please send Ann $5 for $25?
Well, that's to pay for the 25 masks that Mr. Fauci has to wear.
She says she's never going to stop working to combat climate change, Andy, protect Medicare and Social Security, and hold corrupt Republicans accountable.
Well.
Hashtag unity, baby. Hashtag unity.
It is. It's all about unity. It's all togetherness.
So set the stage for this whatever is going on in the Senate today that even Judge Roberts doesn't want any part of.
Well, yeah, that's how you know whether it's a real impeachment trial or not. Well, there's a couple things. Number one, you would have the presiding officer would be, I don't know, as the Constitution says, the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. He's chosen not to come, so you're going to get a true partisan hack. Senator Leahy's going to come in and not only will he be the judge, but he gets to vote as part of the jury. That's the beautiful thing about this. That's America the way we all know it, right? I mean, that's absurd. And then you also know it's not legitimate by the fact that the Constitution says impeachment's for a president, vice president, or other executive officers. Well, he's not an executive officer. He's not a vice president. He's not the president. He is a former president. So it's just strike two. They're out. They're going to be out here because the third thing is the facts don't bear it out. The Constitution doesn't bear it out. The procedure doesn't bear it out. I mean, I want you to think to this thing. What were we doing last week? We had a 2-hour debate with no committee hearings, no referral to a committee, no investigation. Just, hey, you know what? We don't like this guy, and we really think he's a bad guy, and he's a danger. I mean, I guess it was a couple weeks ago because it's like the week before he left. He's going to be leaving office next week. We need to hurry up with this impeachment. He's obviously a danger.
I mean, I thought that impeachments were to remove people because they were doing something harmful, and we couldn't wait to get them unelected through a re-election process. It just couldn't wait. That's what I thought impeachments were for.
That is what impeachments are for. It's odd that you would say that. You sound like one of the founding fathers who wrote the Constitution and said, this is what impeachment's for.
Oh, they're a bunch of fascists. Don't worry about that. Don't tie me in with those guys.
Yeah, I know it.
So when I saw, when you see this thing that McConnell agrees to, impeachment trial rules, again, I have enough problems with McConnell, but isn't that the point in time you say, go do whatever you want. Go screw yourself on your impeachment trial.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you just say, look, you guys are crazy,
right,
and we're gonna let the whole world see how nuts you are. So, and that's really what's going to happen here. I mean, there's going to be battling, dueling, video or audio, I guess video recordings. The timeline's going to come out. I mean, the facts that have already come out when they're not being buried by the mainstream press indicates pretty clearly there were some nut jobs that were planning an attack on the White House, not the White House, but the Capitol, and they put that plan into effect. President Trump's speech that day had nothing to do with this.
Well, and I love because they're going after you on a bunch of this stuff based on a guy who said, "Oh, there's no proof that he talked to you, but as long as some guy referred to you, then all of a sudden you're in on it."
Exactly. I mean, think about that. That's like saying, 90% of Americans eat chips, and so we know that you're a chip eater, or 75%. It doesn't make any sense. And yeah, I'm going to refer to Biggs, and next thing you know, he's paying for the riots. I mean, that's the logical nexus here.
So now here's an interesting question. I know neither of us are constitutional lawyers. We just play them on the radio. Let's say I don't think, can any of this, I guess the numbers aren't there to convict them because you need 2/3 of the Senate. But if they ever did, is this something that, because it's such a sham, I guess what happens? What I guess if they ever did convict him, if they can find Republicans that I don't think they are, what actually happens if they, quote, convict him? What does that do?
Well, what they're hoping to do is they want to put a statement in there, because the Constitution allows us to say you can never hold public office again.
Right.
That's what they want. That's not going to happen.
Right.
But what is going to happen is the same thing. Just look at the pattern that's going on here. So they want to impeach Trump to try to erase his legacy. Last week, the majority came in, did something never been done in history before. It took a Republican, a member of the minority, off one of her committees, because both of her committees, because they didn't like things that were said years ago. And what you're seeing is this race to the bottom to use every procedure here is going to be a cudgel against people they don't like. And so I was told last week, for instance, that the Democrats are preparing a censure resolution on 140 Republicans in a single resolution, and 140. Why not just censure the whole 213 of us?
Why are they censoring? You got to be part of the 140, so why are they censoring?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Why are they censoring the 140 of you?
Well, because we were the ones that voted to object to the certification.
Right.
Now, oddly enough, some of the people that are proposing that actually objected to the certification of Donald Trump, and some of them go back years and have objected every time there's been a Republican president elected in this century. So I mean, this is what we've become. The Democrats have become. The left has become. They want to attack and become a single party. They want to eliminate dissent in this country. And one of the beautiful things that we've always respected is the right to dissent, and the right to make that speech, the right to act within the constitutional parameters to try to put forward your cause. And now the left says, you know what, now we've got unitary government, and we're putting pedal to the metal, and we want to, if we can, emasculate and erase any dissent before the 2022 elections.
So there was an interesting piece in the Washington Times by a Mr. McKenna that took the Green case, which is the idea that the majority is now determining who the minority can put on committees. And then he said you take that, which puts nothing but, kind of the most vanilla people humanly possible on these committees, and then you take the proxy voting that's going on with the Ds, and literally you've just centralized all the power of 535 of you folks in the hands of leadership.
Well, that's right, and it wasn't like leadership didn't already hold 50 of the playing cards. They now hold everything. They have the whole deck,
yep.
And it isn't Republican leadership; it is Democrat leadership. So it is an unbelievable thing to witness. Now, here's some other things. What's the next step? Is to say, well, we don't like your chairman or your ranking members from the minority party, so we're going to replace them. And we think you guys are meeting way too often. We're going to, you can only meet every quarter, and we'll approve what you meet and talk about. And you can't have a Republican conference. You guys are getting together every week. We think that's way too much. We're worried about your COVID issues. So we're going to pull that back. You can meet only every 6 weeks. You can only do it by a Zoom. I mean, what it does is it basically says the majority will control the minority and basically obliterate that. And guess what that reminds me of? It reminds me of the single-party systems of fascist Europe in the 30s. It reminds me of the Politburo. That's what it becomes. It becomes a Soviet-style form of government.
I guess for folks like us who would like to take back the House and Senate in less than 2 years, I guess we have to thank the Democrat Party for overplaying their hand this hard.
Well, I hope so. If people are paying attention, and as you know and I know, there's a lot of people that pay attention, but there's also a whole lot of people that don't pay any attention till probably the September before the elections, when they start waking up and pay attention.
I've noticed also that part of the tact of the Democrats is the Republicans are the party of the Christian white supremacists. This is the new one, harder than ever now. I just saw like 3 articles today referring to the Republicans as the party of white supremacists, and I kind of feel like election-wise, it's because the Republicans made so many gains amongst Hispanics and African Americans. This is the counter.
Yeah, well, it's twofold. Number one is that, I mean, don't forget they were using racist before that. Now racist is basically, since everybody's a racist and you have systemic racism, including within the Democrat Party, et cetera, now you have to go narrow that racism even further. So you become a white supremacist, white nationalist, white slave trader, whatever it may be. That's where they're going. That's step one. But the other step that is so important to realize is this is an authoritarian, tyrannical step. You always have to have people to hate. And you look back, and it may have been in some places it was the socialists, some places it was the communists, some places it was the Jews, and now they're trying. The folks on the left are really trying to create this hatred against the opposition party, so it becomes easier for them to do the ridiculous single party move that they're trying to do.
So what should we? So how is it going to take a week or so? Is that what they're saying? This back to the impeachment.
Impeachment. Wow. Well, we've circled back to impeachment.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think they're doing 16 hours. Each side gets 16 hours to present.
Okay.
So that's kind of 32 hours, and then I think then they might extend it for debate and some questions. So maybe a 32 to 40 hour procedure.
I know it's probably not legally the smartest thing to do, but I would have loved to seen Trump show up and testify.
Oh, well.
Just for pure entertainment value, that would have been a rocker.
That would have been fun. I do think this is the wiser move, though.
I agree. I agree. So how do you, from your side, how do you get, in relation to the rules getting the way they're being changed, how does a Republican in the minority get anything done the next 2 years?
I actually talked to one of the last few Democrats who talked to Republicans last week about some things that he and I were working on before all this came about, and he's still willing to work. But just so you know, even within our own delegation at the House level, we have legislation that we've worked on with Democrats in our delegation before, and they've signed on to it, but now they won't sign on to it because they don't like Republicans now. It's really pathetic. And so we will do all we can. I mean, there's so many things that we can do to gum up the works here if my colleagues have the will. And you can really drive this thing. And actually, it would probably be good for the American people to just kind of slow everything down completely. And it's hard to believe it could be any slower with what the Democrats are doing. But, I mean, we could actually slow it down so where it's very painful for them to do anything like their horrible H.R. 1 and that type of thing.
Well, Andy, I appreciate the time and the information as always, and keep doing what you're doing, and we'll talk to you again soon, okay?
You bet. Thanks. Good talking to you again.